Friends, colleagues and listeners, here we are. We've got a great two-part series podcast here, and we've got different ends of the scale, and you'll see what I mean shortly. But here we have the youth and the creator, and the person I'm talking about is Nisarg Mehta, who's the co-founder and CTO of a wonderful company called Raft. And we've just been talking about the meanings, but let's start off. Nisarg, how did you start Raft and why?
Good question. So my background is in technology. I studied machine learning and artificial intelligence, or AI, at university, and it really opened my mind to what was possible with modern technology. And I always wanted to bring it to industries that weren't particularly well served by technology, the so-called boring industries.
Well, that's a good start. That's a good start, Nisarg.
Yeah, it is though, because if you speak to anyone on the street and you ask them about what a freight forwarder does what logistics is, chances are no one's going to know about it. It touches everyone's lives in ways they don't understand, but no one knows what happens behind the scenes. And I think logistics is one of those industries that hasn't really been well served over the years with modern technology because of how complicated it is. And so when I set out to start something and bring technology into the real world, I don't think there was any better place than logistics. And so it organically grew into sort of what it is today.
Okay, brilliant. I've got a brother, one of my brothers, he runs his own air freight company. So I'll have great fun now telling him, Mickey, you've got a boring company. So
I tell all our customers that.
Yeah, no, but you're right. And I started off in customs and then forwarding before I got into the airlines. But you are right, and you know, there's so many acronyms and people have the excuses that but you have to do it this way, and no, it's not possible to change, and this has to be done. And our industry is only forced to change normally through some sort of regulatory directive, or if something goes wrong,
or competition, right? Yeah. It becomes more and more competitive, and the headwinds change.
No, you're 100% right there, because they've sat back. I remember a couple of examples, like when they first introduced the console.
Sure,
that was out of laziness, in my opinion, from a carrier. Now look where it's got us. You know, there's lots of things that would be taken back now. If only they did. So you and your partner, you started off, and what did you think was going to be the first things that you would focus on, you know, to get some sort of headwind or to make people sit up and listen?
Sure. I think we had a general, very high level concept that a lot of things that were done in the industry were manual and repetitive. Workflows were manual. I think when we were very, very early on, we had no idea how true that was. It only really came to light when we visited some of our customers. But we thought that optimizing some of these manual workflows, automating some of these repetitive tasks would be the best thing to do. And the first sort of focus area where we really honed in was making sense of all the unstructured data flying around in people's inboxes and documents and spreadsheets. And it was, in the very early days, such a massive problem that resonated with every single customer, partner, freight forwarder, company that we spoke to, that it just made sense to tackle that problem first. And so we started off by building a relatively simple platform that made sense of this unstructured data and put it into people's day-to-day workflows, made it easy for them to access, made it easy for them to integrate with their end systems. And that's sort of where we got a lot of our early traction.
Yeah. Do you know something? I think also that, and you may or may not have found it, there's always a resistance, or there has been in our industry, to change. But now, as a result of COVID and all the issues that the whole industry is facing, and not just our industry, but retaining people, you know, turnover, retention, etc., it's so important now to make people feel that there's a benefit of what they're doing, and that it's a stepping stone to what they might want to do in the future.
Sure.
So by taking away all that repetitive, it's not a threat to jobs. It's actually something to make people's jobs more interesting. And I think if people are able to put that across, it's a very valuable thing, and it's a way of changing it. Because what I've seen in the last couple of years is people are using "I'm juster" far too many times now. And, you know, nobody in this world is "I'm juster."
Sure.
Everybody's a person. Everybody runs their own business.
Sure.
If they've got a family or a home or just living,
Yeah, for sure.
Nobody should call themselves I'm Juster. So if you can do something to make their lives more interesting and meaningful and see the whole reason why, instead of just waiting to be told, oh yeah, you got to input another load of these. And I remember going back when I first started, oh my goodness me, the boring jobs were terrible.
Yep.
So obviously that's a great start. How have you found that as far as the take up now with some of your customers?
Yeah, I mean, more and more, like the customers that we work with now and have developed relationships with tell us that all the time. They don't want to pay their teams just for the speed at which they can type, for the speed at which they can look up information on a website. They want to pay them for their brains. They want to pay them for the higher value sort of strategic tasks that they've actually been hired to do. The role of a freight forwarder is to provide a service. It's not to type up data from a bill of lading or a commercial invoice or to chase the status of a particular shipment. It's to actually work with their customers to be a consultant, to show them what good looks like, and to have that human touch to a relatively complex process. And the only way that that's possible is through the use of new technology, so that they can be freed up to focus on things that are interesting, things that are valuable for the business. So we constantly hear the sentiment of, we want to pay our peoples for what is important, not typing stuff up, which they're doing for hours and hours and hours a day. But it's important to remember that that's the case because there's no other option. It hasn't ended up this way because people are not thinking clearly or innovatively enough. It's because there has been no other way to solve this problem until right now. And now to answer your take-up question really well, we have a lot of our customers that have worked with us and gotten comfortable with the platform and the technology say that, like, if they take the platform away today, their people will quit because they are that it's that useful to their day-to-day flow, which is awesome to hear. For me, it's making a real difference.
No, it's fantastic, and that's real value, isn't it? Especially if the users feel that it's a necessity. You made one point there. Our industry, or the logistics industry, is always going to require humans. So that's the other argument that I hear. Just trying to replace us, just trying to get rid of us. But that's not the case. It's just bringing everybody's personal asset value up because of the convenience of something that can work quicker, I wouldn't say more intelligently, but more organised and more structured than the people who are doing it now. So if that comes across, it's a way of making people want to come back into the industry because it's all the modern technology helping make decisions. And then when you make decisions, you've still got to have the interaction with the customer, which is the most important thing in the world.
I mean, all of logistics and freight forwarding is about service. It's about human service, and it's about people. I don't think a single one of our customers has changed their headcount because of implementing modern technology. It hasn't ever led to, them letting people go. It's always led to them using the people for other things on the list that just never had the time for their people to do it. So it's never a case of we can reduce our headcount because of this. It's always a case of our list is so long. If you take all the boring, mundane admin stuff that humans don't like doing anyways, there is a rich variety of tasks that they would rather focus their time on.
Yeah. I do feel, though, at the end of the day, people will want to have a return on investment. So they'll be looking at either, stop recruiting in the volumes that they were. Have better retention and make people a little bit more loyal to the business or the company because they can see themselves developing and see where it's going. So the storyline, what's the storyline that you pitch to your new potential customers?
There's a few different things, but an important part of it is that they can increase capacity for their business. So as they scale, as they bring on new business, they don't have to increase their operational costs at the same rate. They can improve the quality of their flows, of their workflows. Everything currently sits in Bob's head. Bob sits on the other side of the office. He scribbles some things on his notebook. If Bob leaves the business, all that tribal knowledge is lost. And that's a real risk, as you said, because turnover is a real problem. People that know how the business works, people that know how to get things done, if they leave, that is a real risk. So improving their efficiency, making them more strategic, ends up with better retention, but also with better end experience for the customer. So it's not something that people necessarily recognize, but the effect of implementing new technology internally for operational tasks is a significantly better customer experience because people have the time to focus on their customers. So it leads to higher revenue, better sort of ratings or whatever you want to call it from a customer satisfaction perspective. And we've seen a bunch of our customers start to pitch in their sales cycles to their customers that they use the modern platforms and technology now, and therefore they can provide a better service, leading to them being able to close more business. So there's a lot of different points. I probably didn't cover all of them, but these are some of the top ones that came to mind.
No, and very well done as well. Now, once you master the boring and the mundane and the repetitive and the volume, obviously that also helps with the information that's in.
Sure.
So then you can start looking at the process. You can identify certain risks, and you can look at business sustainability. And I'm not talking about environment. I'm talking about business sustainability. So things like risk assessments, risk registers, putting together worst case scenarios, giving people options of what the best outcome or the best solution should be if you've got certain problems, and knowing that it's a regularly used best option, so it's got some credibility in it. Is that the way you're thinking that things will start to move forward?
Possibly. I mean, there's a related thing that we do for our customers today, and that is giving them an insight into their process in a way that they cannot visualize. Someone in a department will create a process diagram saying this is what we should do. We should do step 1, step 2, step 3, and then there's a decision here, and there's this entire complex diagram. How that's playing out in reality, no one actually knows. And why don't they know? It's because the data is lost in a spreadsheet somewhere. It's lost in an email somewhere. It's lost in Bob's notebook somewhere. And because it's all analog, it's impossible to see. It's impossible to measure. And as the old saying goes, you can't improve what you can't measure. So we give our customers an easy way to visualize their process, to visualize their metrics and KPIs, and understand what is actually happening day to day, where the bottlenecks and issues might lie, and therefore what they need to improve as part of their process. Could it be used for risk assessments and this sort of thing in the future? Absolutely. Today it's focused on like optimizing and visualizing operational workflows, but the underlying data can then be unlocked to do anything. It could be for any of the things you said, or maybe even more.
No, exactly. And another thing that I've always said to people, there's so much accreditation in our business. All right. I mean, you just rattled off whether you've got, whether it's to do with ISAGO, IOSA, ISO, you've got TAPA, you've got GDP, you've got CIV, you've got all these, and all for different reasons. They're all of value. But if you look at the common thread that runs through most of them, there's consistencies. So when you're working for a large organisation, and this month, we've got the IOSA audit coming from carrier, whatever, we've got to do this, that, and the other thing. Oh, here we go again. Then there's an ISAGO audit to be done. Then there's something else to be done. Then they don't actually understand what all of this means. So if there was an integrated accreditation management system that focused on the common criteria or threads through all of them, and that storyline was explained to the employees and the senior management, it would make a lot more sense. Then you only have to focus on the differentials. And it would make everything a lot easier. Same thing with SLAs. You've got, some poor GHAs have got God knows how many carriers, and one makes you put your finger on the top of your ear, one on the top of your head, one holding your nose, one holding your chin. The staff haven't got a clue what's going on. So again, if there was a common thread using the best industry practices, like the ICHM or whatever, then AI could then start to manage those other areas a lot easier with visuals or, screens or, red, green, amber, whatever you want to do. I mean, that's how I see it, helping everybody in the future.
No, for sure. As you spoke about that, we haven't explicitly put the platform for use for some of these accreditations, but we regularly get asked for, underlying data and trends that our customers can use in their audits. When they have financial audits, when they have customs audits, given we have a good bird's eye view of everything, from the underlying unstructured data to the processes to how users are interacting with these processes, it makes it easy for them to access this data to then use in these audits. We've also seen SOPs that are these terrible sort of Word documents in a SharePoint, Microsoft Teams folder somewhere that everyone is required to read and edit, and it goes over and over with like 20 revisions. And that's, again, for a reason. It's not because it's the best way to do it. It's because it's been the only way to do it so far, until the new technology, like what I've sort of been alluding to, allows people to say, well, you don't need a Word document to define an SOP. You can define it in a platform. You don't need someone to memorize it by heart. You can just get a platform to walk them through the process sort of step by step, little by little, assisted by things like AI, so that they can walk through from 0 to 1 or 0 to 100 in a much more efficient way and enjoy themselves while doing it.
No, exactly. I was lucky enough. To visit a company in the pharmaceuticals, and at every single workstation they had the great big screen, touch screen. So it was fantastic, right? So they had a certain set of standards that they had to check on a regular basis, which were their most critical SOPs, right? And then also their worst performing ones. So whenever there was a briefing, they used it. And what they were saying is that for X amount of time, if you were participating on the 6 worst performing, before the group started that particular work, they had to go to the screen and follow it and make sure that they were clear in their head. And then the supervisors or the DMs had to take accountability for the accuracy of that particular process. Now that, to me, is the way forward, especially in the business that I've been in for so long. Even though you've got some wonderful platforms now that steer, control, and direct you, but this one, there's no reason why not. And the other thing that they were able to do was they were able to say how many supervisors and DMs actually used the interactive set of it, and how many people checked on it as well. Because as soon as you press, you had to put, all you had to do was you had to put your not a staff number, because everybody could get access to staff number, but people had their own code that they keyed in, and then they could see how often it was being used, which also then went towards the appraisals and the performance feedback. So people had some facts about an individual's use, shall we say. And it works so much better.
It's as I said, it's going back to the human touch. It's taking away things that are lost in translation somewhere, and lost because it's all in an email locked away in Bob's notebook, and actually in a way that is easy for you to measure, to visualize, and therefore optimize your overall flow. However you choose to use it, unless you can see it, you can't improve it.
Exactly. No, exactly. And like I say, just recently with some guys that I've started to work with, we were just creating minimum expectation documents instead of job descriptions. And you've had very, very minimal but critical activities. But then, and it's all on one page, and then on the other side, you had your behavioural tasks and actual performance tasks. So it wasn't just you have to do these things, but you have to do them in this way, and this is what the expected outcome is. And people started, much, much quicker, rather than all these just in case lists. You must do this, you must do this, you must do this. So I think it's got so much potential on a positive platform if it's part of a storyline that everybody is included in from the day they start the company or when they're considering joining the company. Why should I join that company? And then if all these things are put together, it's a great marketing and PR tool as well.
Yeah, it is. And we've seen as I said, our best customers use this to really magnify the impact that their people and their teams can have. Enjoy themselves, but also really maximize the end customer's experience. And I think the examples of it are working in reality in fantastic ways now.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Well, I think fair play to you. Absolutely fantastic what you and your partner have done. Good luck, and hopefully you'll be able to change this industry because it's long overdue.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.